Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with the second installment of a video that I did a couple weeks ago. I posted would I repurchase these 10 random singles, and I thought it was time to do another one of these. So since I have so many singles in my collection, I thought this would be a fun way to go through them and share what I have in my collection, but also to share what I think is worth the money. So yeah, I'm going to go through and randomize 10 of them, and I'm just going to talk you through each and every one and just share with you if I would repurchase them or not. I will also include some swatch footage of each shade so you can see what it looks like with all of the shifts and the good stuff. So I'm going to jump into the video, but before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So we have my wheel right here with my single shadows. So I'm just going to go ahead and randomize 10 of them. We have Glam Shop Steroid. All right, that's number 1. We have Fairy Tale from Sydney Grace. Okay, some matte. And that is Bubbles from Cleona Cosmetics. That's from the Dragonfly palette, but it's single in my collection. So that is the next one. Shade number 4 is going to be MUG. So that's Makeup Geek Untamed. All right, that brand isn't available anymore, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to pull it out. Dragonfly from the Pastel Roses. That is a green shade. I believe that's 5. So let's keep going. Gleam from Cleona. Citron from Cleona. Okay. Colourpop Mr. Sandman. That's not actually a single shadow, so I'm gonna re-roll because that's part of my palette. Thunderbird Sydney Grace. Okay, let me see how many I have. So that's 8. Let's do 2 more. Glam Shop Kwasniak. Okay, that's another matte. And then the last shadow, hopefully, will be Gothic from Cleona. Okay, so I have my 10 shadows. I'm going to go ahead and pick them all out, put them in a magnetic palette, and I will be right back. So I'm back, and I have picked out my color story. It's a really, really interesting color story. I quite like it, actually. So yeah, let me talk you through each shade in order. So first up in the palette, we have Glam Shop Steroid, which is there, and I also swatched out on my hand right there. It's a beautiful, beautiful shadow. It's very kind of sparkly and a bit more sheer. And I don't reach for this one enough. Actually, I can't remember the last time I reached for the shadow, but it's a really, really stunning one. Swatching it out, it is so beautiful. It's definitely like one of those kind of neutrals with a twist that I really like right now. It is kind of like a neutral brown base with some green, gold, going into blue sparkles. Is really pretty. I do quite like this shade. And looking at it, I think this is one that I might actually repurchase if I lost it, just because it is exactly what I like right now. It is like a neutral with a twist. It's not too pigmented, it's lighter, it's buildable, it's sparkly, it's everything that I like. So this is definitely one that I think I would repurchase if I lost it. The next shade is this shade, which comes from Sydney Grace, and that was the shade Fairy Tale. So that is a really, really beautiful kind of peachy, rosy kind of shade. You can see it right there. So this is like the perfect type of crease shade for me. I really love these kind of warmer pinks, and it's not too bright. It's just like that soft romantic undertone that I really like. This is actually a shade that I currently have in my favorites palette. So I created like a favorites palette a while back with some of my singles from all my palettes. I have one for my Cleona shadows and one for my round singles. And this is actually part of it, which means that it's one that I really love and it's one that I know that I really love. So this is an easy one as well. I would definitely repurchase this shade. Then lastly, for the top row right here, we have the shade Bubbles from Cleona. It originally came from the Dragonfly palette, but I purchased a couple of them as single, and this is one of them. And I have swatched it out right there as well. You can see it's like an iridescent shade on my hand, but I will also insert the swatches. So this is a really interesting shade. It's quite a white-based iridescent. It still has a lot of the white cast to it, and it has like a bit of a peachy kind of shade straight on, going into a green, into a blue, into a purple, into a violet at a very harsh angle. It's an interesting shade, and this is really, really difficult for me because I do like it. Looking at it swatched out, I do like it, but I know that when I used this one in the past, because it has quite a white base, it's a little bit brighter, as in like more white than I would like it to be. So it's not one that I reach for very often. But yeah, swatching it now, it's really pretty. However, I do think that this is probably one that I would not repurchase, just because I have so many other iridescents in my collection that I prefer. And even though it is really stunning, I'm staring at it now, it is really stunning. I just know this is one that I don't gravitate towards, so yeah, I probably would not repurchase that shade. On the second row, the first shade we have is the shade Untamed from Makergeek, which is one of their full shadows. Like I said, this brand isn't available anymore, but I still have this one around, as well as I think one more from that range. But this is a really, really bright, kind of yellowy orange shade. Yeah, it's like a rusty yellow metallic, so you can see it fast right there. This actually makes a really nice color story, these four shades. But yeah, this is a beautiful shadow, but it's just, I feel like it's just a little bit too typical old school metallic for me. It is still very, very impactful, which is why I'm keeping it around. But if I lost it, I mean, I know I wouldn't be able to repurchase it anyway, but if I lost it, I probably wouldn't try to, because it's just not special enough for me. I feel like it's beautiful, but yeah, it's not special enough for me to repurchase. So yeah, that is another non-repurchase. The next shadow is an easy one. That is the shade right here, which is Dragonfly from the Pastel Roses. This is a really, really beautiful shade. I have swatched it out on there, by the way. This is a really, really beautiful shade that goes from a vibrant green to a gold to a pink and a bit of orange to it. And it's a very shifty shadow, and this type of shadow is definitely something that I absolutely adore. I love these type of greens, like the warm tone greens, and it's just a really fun shade. However, I do have a almost direct dupe of this one from Terra Moons. I always mix it up, but I think it's Coalescence. This is also Ganymede, but I can't remember which one is which one. But I believe this one is the dupe of Coalescence, but it might be Ganymede. Can't remember. And I also have, just looking at it now, I know that there's a shade in the Merry Christmas palette from Odenside that's very, very similar as well. So this is, again, like I said, an easy one, because I actually already decluttered this one from my collection. I don't know why it's in my wheel. I need to make sure that it's not my spreadsheet as well, because if so, my numbers will be off, because I know for a fact that this one has been decluttered. But yeah, it's a beautiful shadow. It's just, again, I have dupes of it in my collection, which means that this is one that I didn't end up keeping. It is, again, a really beautiful shadow, and if I didn't have dupes of it in my collection, it definitely would be one that I would keep. But with the circumstances of my own collection and what I have, it is a declutter. Okay, let's move on to the next shadow, and we have a couple of Cleona shadows coming up now, but we have this iridescent to start, which is the shade Gleam, which is one of their glitter iridescent monochrome. But this is a really, really, the sun is coming in now. This is a really, really beautiful iridescent shade again. If you look on my hand, again, the sun is coming in, so it's not going to be maybe as obvious. But this one has way less of a white base than this shade does here. Okay, I might have to go and close the blinds because the sun is just coming in. Give me 1 second. Okay, there you go. That's better. So that you can see how much of a less white base this one has, which is what I talked about earlier. But like I said, this is like a pink to peach to gold iridescent shade, and it's a pretty shadow, and I do again like these kind of warmer pinks. It has more of a cool tone pink straight on, but it does have that warmthness to it, which is something that I do enjoy. However, it's not my favorite kind of formula when it comes to iridescence. This one specifically is a little bit chunkier, and the reflection isn't there. Some of the other glitter iridescent shades are a bit more impactful, so this is not one of the most impactful ones. So I'm looking at it, and it is pretty, but looking at comparing it to some of the other shades on my hand, I just feel like this is one that I probably wouldn't repurchase just because I have a better iridescence in my collection. So that's the reasoning for that. I probably wouldn't get this one again if I ever lost it. Then the next shade is actually also an iridescent, but this doesn't look like an iridescent because it's one of their deep iridescent shades. And this is the shade Citron. So that is that shadow there. And of course I have also swatched it out. It is swatched out right there. It's a beautiful shadow. You can mainly see that kind of brown base and that warm green straight on. But yeah, let me show you the swatch like insertion as well. Because this one has a really like bright shift that goes from that kind of vibrant grass green into a blue, into a purple, and then again with that brown base. It is a super shifty shadow. It's a really stunning shadow. It's not the most unique one because I know that I have this type of shadow a couple times over in my collection, and this one is a really stunning version of it. Would I repurchase this one? Maybe I would actually, because even though it is a little bit repetitive, this is probably one of my favorite versions of this shadow. So it is one that sits very high up there, and I think if I lost this one I would be quite sad. I probably would have to like play around with the similar shades that I have in my collection, but standing right now looking at it, I probably would repurchase it, I think, because it's vibrant, but it's like not too vibrant, and it's also very shiny and bright. So yeah, I think I would repurchase this one just because it is a beautiful shadow and it's a beautiful version of what it is. So even if I have similar shadows to this in my collection, I think I would pick this one up again. The next shadow is a really hard one, and that is this shade right here, which comes from Sydney Grace, and this is the shade Thunderbird. So this is an absolutely beautiful shadow, and I have swatches right there. And that one, by the way, is just one swipe on my hand, and you can see how smooth and pigmented that is. It's amazing. The formula in here is amazing. It's one of the best Sydney Grace. Well, not one of the best. They have a lot of really good shadows, but this is like when Sydney Grace is the absolute best. But it's a beautiful, really deep gray tone with a bit of like a blue hint to it. It is a super beautiful shadow. The formula again is amazing on this shade, and it's very unique to my collection. I don't have anything else like it really. Probably not in palettes nor in singles, and I think again in that sense it's very unique. But it's also a shadow that I don't reach for too often. So that is kind of what makes it so difficult, because it is unique and I know that it would bring something new to my collection, but I don't reach for this type of shadow too often. So would it be worth for me to repurchase it if I lost it? It's so hard. I mean, I think the logical thing would be no, because again I don't reach for it too often, but I like having the variety, and again I know that I don't have anything else like this one really in my collection. Maybe I would in the Huda Beauty Total Eclipse palette. But it's just such a beautiful shadow. I think I would, because I'm looking at it and I know it's so unique and it's so beautifully swatched. It's a perfect formula. So I'm going to say yes to the shadow. I'm going to say, yeah, I would repurchase it if I lost it. So we have 2 more shadows to go. Next up, we have another matte. It's the last matte, and that is this shade here called Kosniak from Glam Shop. I hope that's how you pronounce it. But it's a beautiful acid green kind of matte. I have also swatched it out right here. You can see how vibrant that is, and that would actually work perfectly. Like these 3 shades right there would be stunning together. But anyway, this is a really beautiful shadow. It's so vibrant, so kind of electric but still swampy green. It is everything that I want in this type of green shadow. I really love it. I swatched it out now and I'm just like, that is beautiful. I know I have a couple other of these kind of bright green shades, but this one is a little bit unique in the undertone and how vibrant it is. So would I repurchase this one? Because again, I have similar shadows, but this one is just so impressive, and I love this type of shadow. I love it as a pop color. I should probably do that soon because I do love this type of shadow, and I'm dying to make a look with like that kind of type of gray plus this shade. That would be stunning. I think I would repurchase it. It's not like, I mean, I know that it would be a bit repetitive, but it's just one of the best versions of this type of shadow that I have. And I would rather repurchase this one than some of the other kind of green shadows that I have. So I would say yes to this one. It's a beautiful shadow. And it just makes me happy. Like looking at that swatch just makes me absolutely happy. So we come to the very final shadow. And this is actually going to be an easy one. But that is this shadow right down here called Gothic from Cleona. It's one of their jeweled multichromes. And that is the swatch of it right there. And initially you can see just how deep that is. Again, it is one of their jeweled multichromes. That means the swatches so you can see the shift of the shadow too, but it has like a royal kind of violet purple shift straight on that goes into orange to a peach to a like slight green at a very harsh angle, but it's a very, very slight green. It's mainly that kind of purple to peach to orange kind of shift. So it is a beautiful shadow, and I love kind of wearing stuff like this as a wing liner because it is unique and it brings in a little bit of that multichromeness. However, I don't reach for these shadows very often. As you might know, I don't reach for wings very often. It's just something that I don't do. Same as if I bring like an eyeliner into a project, I used to forget to do wings. So this is one that I can see the appreciation for. I can see why it's so beautiful, but it's 100% a shadow that I don't reach for very often. Which means that, again, it's an easy one. I know that I wouldn't repurchase this one because, again, it's just way too deep. You can see some of it, it's like even deeper than that gray tone, which I feel like is quite deep. It is a deeper shadow on here, and it's just not one that I reach for very often. It's one of the deeper jewel multichromes as well from Cleona, so it's just one that I know that I wouldn't get used out of. I mean, I know that I don't get used out of them right now, so why would I repurchase them? Especially because what I could also do is like just layer iridescent shades over black, and I know it wouldn't be exactly the same, but it would be very, very similar. So yeah, those are the 10 shadows. Out of these, let me see, there's 1, 2, I'm trying to calculate how many I would repurchase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, half down the middle. So that is the summary for those shadows. Such a beautiful color story. It's always fun to do like these randomizations because sometimes the color story turns out beautiful, which is the case here. But I'm going to wrap up the video here. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. I would love to keep doing these installments if you're enjoying them. I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye, guys.